Welcome to the 2018 Toronto International Film Festival, and welcome to the world premiere of Her Smell. Before we start, I want to acknowledge that we are in the treaty territories of the Mississaugas of the New Credit and the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat, and we are so excited to be working with the community today and every day of every year. Yes, please. I also want to remind you that this film is eligible for the Girls People's Choice Award. You can vote by going to tiff.net/vote and cast your vote that way. And I want to quickly thank William Morris Endeavor and Voltage International for providing us with the print. They've been great partners of lots of films for lots of years. So can I get a round of applause for them too? This is a very, very exciting night for us. All the films in the platform section are there because they stood out to us. They were elevated in some way. And this is a filmmaker, obviously, we've been following for a long time. This is a very different film for him, but it's also an incredible piece of work and a really interesting amalgamation of genres and styles and lots of other things that you will soon discover. And I'm sure we're going to talk about it a lot at the end. But I won't say any more. I'd just like to say that I am so proud to bring to the stage right now Alex Ross Perry.
Thank you, Michael. All right, welcome to the jungle, everybody. It is unbelievable to get to premiere a movie here at TIFF. What a dream. When they told me that we were going to be premiering here at the Winter Garden Theater, which I knew nothing about, my first thought was Cats, Now and Forever.
Which is basically the movie.
Yeah. Well, see ya. No, thank you all so much. This is unbelievable to have gotten to finish this movie just in time to screen it. And at the end of it, almost the entire cast is here. And they're gonna come up. If there's a woman in this movie who's in a band, she's here tonight. As well as many others and a lot of people who worked on it, which is just honestly so humbling that people would come up here to be a part of the premiere of a movie they worked on. And thank you to Bow and Arrow and Falero House for letting me make this 2-hour and 15-minute girl punk movie. And thank you all for coming to watch it tonight. I will see you in a little bit when the curtain falls. Thanks.
I'd like to welcome back to the stage Alex Ross Perry.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, well, how about we have all these people come out and help me stumble through this bullshit, as they say. Yeah, we're missing some of the Acre girls at the moment, but Cara Delevingne, Ashley Benson are there, and Dylan Jalula was somewhere. Is that her? If the three of them could come out, and Amber Heard, who played Zelda, is here. And Ika Darville, who played Yaima, is here. I can see you, Amber. You can come out whenever you want. Come on, Amber. Dylan's here.
Yeah, go. Get it.
Gail Rankin and Agnes Dean are here, who played Ali Amari. Sean Price Williams is here, who shot all 6 of my movies. Cool, I think that's it. All right, are we forgetting? Oh, and Elisabeth Moss is here. All right, now that's everybody.
Get over it. What? Do you want to?
There's one fewer chair than there are people, so whoever doesn't get one has to leave immediately.
Musical chair.
Thank you all. Thank you, TIFF, for having us here.
Of course.
didn't occur to me in the 3 years I've been working on this movie until watching it here that Bryan Adams must be a national hero of Canada. In fact, I bet someone's here who's related to him.
I wonder if that's true.
Anybody? No? All right, next question.
Call yourself out. I wanted to start, the movie does such a great job at capturing a time period in music in a way, and the sense of that. And I wanted to know where it originally came from, what was important to you about that, what was important about that time, and what was important about that music.
Well, it's when I grew up, so it's important to me. And being, let's be charitable here, on the younger side of the filmmaking thing at the moment, there's not a lot of people that I think, have grown up from this and have the same affinity for it. We've seen a lot of 60s, 70s, 50s movies about music, which I have, only the limited connection to. So this felt like a thing that just didn't exist. And I don't think we've really gotten to a point where punk and grunge and alternative are taken remotely seriously enough to believably sustain drama. I mean, music movies don't touch it because there's just not like tens of millions of dollars involved with it. So it feels like something that doesn't really click for people, but it means a lot to me. And I decided to fill the void of there not being one of those movies.
Knowing that, with the two of you, were there reference points when creating the character that you were working off of? Was there people you were thinking of?
Well, I just wanted this movie to get Lizzie a job playing the Joker in another Batman movie. So that was, no, I mean many. I mean, primarily for me, Axl Rose and Slash's relationship is very influential for this movie. And, like a band that I love, like Jawbreaker, that broke up, kind of at the height of their fame and then reunited recently. Like, that's very important to me, but kind of the trick to pull, and I can't speak for, what the actors brought, but I wanted that sort of magical, Paul Thomas Anderson thing where these movies exist adjacent to history. Right. Where everyone in it feels like they did exist in porn in the 70s, right. Or feels like they did exist in fashion in the 50s, but they didn't, but it's so honest and you can tell it's just a little of this, a lot of that, a little of that. And he does that magical thing, and I felt like that's the only way to do this. Otherwise you're stuck to something that actually happened.
Was there reference for you?
Yeah, I mean, I watched a bunch of stuff and all the usual sort of suspects that you would think of, but I don't know. At the same time, I just sort of played the Becky that Alex wrote. I didn't want to try to base it on anyone in particular. It was. I wanted her to be her own thing and her own story. So he said Axl Rose. I didn't pay any attention, and I mean, it was all there in the script. I felt. If I just followed that insane maze, then I would find her. So yeah, I didn't really do anything in particular. He made me listen to some music. I did a little bit of, ignored the rest. Aggie made me listen to some, which was really good. Yeah, got really good taste. But yeah, that's about it. I just kind of followed the map that Alex wrote.
Speaking of the script, I wanted to talk about kind of with all of you, what part of the charm of the movie is, it's easy because it's in her kind of vortex and her vision, it's easy to kind of get lost with the other characters. But it just still, everyone is so distinctive, and everyone up here, I think, plays a very distinctive role. You can pick them out, the character out, even when they just kind of fly by with the camera. And I was wondering how much of it is improvisation, how much of it, that character creation, working together, how much you brought versus the script.
I don't think there was a whole lot of improv, really. No.
I feel like all the lines we stuck to pretty much. It was just the actions in between in those moments. Because really, you kind of wanted to capture how we all felt being surrounded by your character, was that we didn't know what was going to happen at any time. And we honestly didn't. I wasn't acting terrified, I was genuinely terrified. Because you just don't know. Is she going to bite you? Is she going to mount you? Is she going to lick you? I don't know. No one really knew. So it was real.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking that there's a thing about you guys, this is far from the first time you've worked together, and it's far from the first time you've played a somewhat unhinged character in an Alex Ross Perry movie. And I'm wondering if there's a shorthand that you bring that then becomes kind of the vortex, like Becky, that everyone else gets sucked into. Or if it's...
Well, that's always the challenge of Lizzie and then Sean, you know, like, and everyone who I work with is people I've worked with a lot. So like, it's always kind of nerve-wracking to make sure that people I've never worked with, or in some cases like met right before we start filming, can just come in and get on the right page. And I think if you can do that, you're doing a good job. And if we can have like Skypes and emails before we meet, and then you just kind of start, which is great because we don't really talk. Like we don't really, there's just not, I don't need to like work with you or work with Sean. Like it's just all inherent to like exactly what the thing is. So, you know, I'm like, I don't even have to think about it. So I can just kind of spread myself thin in other ways. But I don't know, maybe other people have other.
Yeah, was it odd for the rest of you?
Did I pay attention to everyone while we were
that?
making this movie? Yes, no?
What did you say?
Was it odd for the rest of you coming into that shorthand?
They make such a great environment working together. I mean, it was really easy to just come in. I mean, I just literally came in for a second, but it felt very easy to come in and out. They made that experience. It was a lot like theater. It felt very organic. Everything kind of, you know, when you showed up to set, everything kind of flowed in a way that made it very easy for you as an actor. You just kind of were, like Cara said, you're just kind of reacting. That's a gift if you can get that.
We just couldn't believe that we got all of these people to do the movie, honestly. Every single person, we were like,
How can you
believe
say
they
that?
said yes. Because the last movie we made was like 2 weeks in a house upstate. It was like me and a couple people.
It was so funny because I remember Skyping you for the first time, and we were just kind of talking about it. I was like, what can I do to get in this film? I mean, it was just, and I don't think everyone had even signed on yet.
Have a current work visa.
I'm not working in Toronto, I promise.
Yeah, I always said if I ever encountered any actress who actually already knew how to play the drums, I would instantly say, you have to be in the movie. And I also said, I will never find that actress. But Cara is that actress. She was like, I've been playing since I was 10. So I was like, oh, okay, well, this has been a great Skype. And then right away, I was like, we have to get her in the movie. Like, we have to get her.
And then work with her.
Yeah.
No, that was a joke. You know, she's a foreigner.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
She did so well.
Was there a lot of rehearsal kind of by that token? Because it's so choreographed. Like all of it is so choreographed.
Well, I think you're all misspeaking. There was a lot of rehearsal. We just did it during the shoot.
Yes.
Got it.
We had this crazy idea, Alex and I, that when we were really talking, that what if we could do like 1 or 2 days of rehearsal and then shoot for 2 or 3, 4 days? And we was like, no one's gonna ever let us do that. And then we asked Bow and Arrow, who was helping us make this movie, if they would let us do that, and they were like, sure, that sounds good. We're like, oh
If
my
you can
God.
shoot the remaining 130 pages in a decreased number of days.
Yeah.
So
There was
yeah,
that.
every act had a day of rehearsal where we didn't shoot anything.
And then would shoot for like 2 days.
Would you rehearse with camera, with digital, or no?
With what?
With digital
Camera?
just as test?
Oh. No, Sean was always there. I mean, it was a full crew day. And Sean would have to study the choreography that the actors were deciding. And then the gaffers and everyone else would look at what the actors had decided and plan accordingly.
And costumes would try things out, and hair and makeup would be trying things out, and yeah, it was like being in a theater camp. Like people, like someone would go off and practice an instrument, and other people would be trying on costumes. It was really cool.
I was wondering,
Smoking a lot of fake cigarettes.
because obviously the choreography of the chaos of the first half of the movie seems like it's so meticulously planned out, but also the stuff in the house between you two is so emotionally raw and real, and it seems like it's something that you've gone through the motions of doing that scene 20, 30 times. So that's why I was curious, and I was wondering if both of you could speak to that.
That's the only one we didn't rehearse, actually. That was the only one we shot for 3 days.
Yeah, each act was 3 days.
Yeah.
Plus a fourth of rehearsal,
That was
except
the
for
last
that.
act we shot.
We should get you a mic down there.
He doesn't have a mic? Does anyone down there have a mic?
Oh, sorry.
I was wondering why no one was saying anything down there. This is like being at
like all the mics come down this way.
This is just like when they seat your party of 4 at the bar. You just like to eat food. You just can't talk to anybody. Yeah, I mean, but that was the last thing we did. I mean, the dynamics were all there. It was just, and the cast grew really quickly as the weeks went on, and then it shrank to just Lizzie, Aggie, and Dan by the time we were doing Act 4.
I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak to the scene if you wanted to.
Oh, on the Act 4.
Yeah.
Act 4 was just really beautiful because I think that the 3 of us went through so much together from the moment that we met to that point, and because we finished on that note. Gail actually was at the house when we filmed. She couldn't stay away.
I was hiding upstairs.
But it just kind of ended everything perfectly, and it's a story about sobriety, but really it was like a story about going from being unconscious to conscious. And it was just a mental ride. And, you know, Alex and this script, it's just like tragic and funny, and it just all came together in that moment, this like quiet, kind of pensive moment. And what do you think?
I wasn't in the act.
But you were there.
I was there. I was there at the end.
The house was haunted by Gail.
What? How did this become about that? You should ask another
That's
question.
why the mics aren't in there.
But it was like just, you know, I knew from our other movies and just from like what I think is within the realm of like achievability that like 1, 2, and 3, like that's fine. We did Queen of Earth, like Lizzie can hit those highs, but like this movie's about 4 and 5. Like if you don't have those, you don't have this thing. You just have like mania on top of mania. So those 2 pieces, like they had to be this other thing. And that was like, to me, the biggest risk is like, can you essentially have what feels like a theatrical intermission and then completely change the tone of the movie?
Right. I'm wondering if we could talk a little bit about the shooting too, because, you know, Sean's work is so versatile through all of his stuff. This film has such a distinct look, and there's parts that I think are deceptively telling you something even when it seems like chaos. Like the shot that really stood out to us as programmers was right when she's right before the end of Act 3, where we're saying 3 it's 5 acts, right? So yeah, so right before the end of Act 3, where she's running out of the building and it's suddenly pulled back and you can see her go from room to room, and it's no longer close in your face, but you get a sense of kind of the space. And it's suddenly like you feel the sense of change that's about to happen, and you feel like the peak that you're about to get to. And I was wondering how you guys work together in terms of planning shots, in terms of the cinematography, in terms of that thing, and the look.
That shot, actually, Alex was very specific about, and he tends not to be very specific about what he wants in each shot, but that one he really wanted, partly because it was really hard to do, I think, and he knew it would be really difficult for me, and I would be bumping into the walls, and, you know, focus was going to be all over the place. I think he just got a kick out of that, kind of put me through it, I think. But yeah, those, you know, that was maybe, there was just like a few long takes that he wanted, and, you know, but otherwise we're kind of just figuring it out. Like, I mean, yeah, we had the day of rehearsal usually, which we would figure things out, but then the third act was, we didn't really figure it out beforehand. I mean, we were really just getting it.
Was that the longest shot we did in that third act, in that red space?
There is one, Alex would know.
What's the question, Cara?
If that was the longest shot that we did running,
I mean, the Heaven
right?
performance, I guess, is the longest.
Then we went out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of long shots.
But they weren't intended to be necessarily.
No,
You
some
just
stuff
let
just,
them go.
you know, you get magic sometimes. Yeah, the hallway stuff, like, when we were doing that, we shot all of Acts 1 and 5, and we were like, let's just not be behind her. We've done that 100 times. Let's do this weird linear thing. I mean,
But as far as references, we watched Showgirls and Basic Instinct, and that was pretty much it.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's the time period.
it's the maestro. I mean, truly, like, we were talking about Steadicam, which I've never used, and, you know, you can only look at Verhoeven movies if you want to learn how it's used.
Where was it shot?
This movie?
Yeah.
In New York.
But I mean, like, so was it one space? The kind of backstage space was all. How many locations was it?
Like 3, because we built it all.
Right. That's
Backstage were sets.
Backstages were builds, and then the venues are venues. The recording studio is a very famous recording studio that has hosted everybody you love, including Bryan Adams when he recorded Heaven. We learned, and you know, David Bowie and Sean found a video of Bob Dylan in that recording studio, and the Clash recorded Sandinista there, and then the house was a house. But you know, like, I wanted to do this thing that I'd never done, or that people don't really do, like, where we just built all these sets.
Right.
Like, no one does that at this level because it's prohibitive, but I have a art team that it was like, I know you guys can deliver this, and I want to do it. I want to do a walkthrough and say I need a door here, and come back the next day and find a door there. I don't want to say we have to change the scene because we don't have a door.
So I'm going to open up to the audience in a second, but I can't finish this part without asking about the music, obviously.
Yes.
Both about, you know, the Something She songs and the choices of the other songs,
yes,
and whether they were in the script and who you worked with.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I think Alicia Bognano, who wrote those songs, is here, although I didn't see her. Alicia, are you here? Alicia's right there.
Yes. Woo!
I assume you don't want to come up and say anything. Alicia wrote Something She's music. Alicia's band is called Bully, and she's based in Nashville, and our composer Keegan, who's done this is our fourth movie together, lived in Nashville and knew her, and as soon as he read it, he said, she's exactly what you're looking for to write these original songs. And the Acre Girl song was written by a Philadelphia-based musician named Danica Pyle, who I just read an interview with her when her EP came out, and just wrote her an email and said, like, we need you for this. And the covers have to be of a piece with the originals, and it all has to jibe. Just in the genre and in the history, like, it's a very cover heavy genre. As Aggie will, back me up on, like, the Raincoats have a cover of Lola on their on their album, and for me, like, Needles and Pins is a Ramones song, and Knocking on Heaven's Door is a Guns N' Roses song. Sorry, Sean, but it is. And that's just part of it. And I want that to be part of it. And I think some of the stuff you might think is original, and some of it is British punk bands you've never heard of, and some of it is Charles Manson, which was very popular at the time for punks buying that CD when it came out, and then some of it's Bryan Adams, and it all had to be. That stuff changed in every draft. Yeah. Which song is being sung here, except for Heaven, that never changed. And from Acts 4 and 5 onward, it's all, except for Heaven, she plays an original of Alicia's in 4, and then the finale is Alicia's song. So, yeah, it's just, like everything in the movie, it's just me saying to someone else, like, I don't know how to do this, so I just have to trust you, and you're gonna do it. And then every time I say that, I'm so happy. It's like, I couldn't have done anything. I don't even know how Alicia did it, but her album's great, these songs are great, and it's just like, you're just gonna do this, and it's gonna be what we need. I'm so grateful to just turn over pieces of the movie to other writers, other authors, essentially. Before you open up for questions, just in addition to her, there's a lot of other people here, but really, specifically, I just want to say thank you to all of them, and Matt, Sherman, Boanero, Christos, and Filiro, and Adam Petrovitz, who's our producer, and Robert Green, our editor, and Craig Buda, Keith Paulson, our engineer Keith, and on-set music tutor for all of these bands. Everyone had a big job on this, and I'm so happy with it, with all the people that I like working with.
Well, I'm gonna open it up. Does anybody have any questions? There's somebody right there. So the question is for everyone, and it's what draws you to these complex and kind of emotionally messy stories and characters? If anyone wants to.
Because we're all human, and I think, all of us have touched, been affected in some way by being someone we know with addiction and mental illness. It's a very honest movie, and I think it really encapsulates perfectly the desperation that a human can go through, and the loneliness and the battles and the struggles, and how it affects others. I think Alex is the king of authenticity, and I think he really captured it so perfectly. And yeah, it's hard not to want to portray that kind of truth, even though it's sad. It's a wonderful thing to be able to capture.
Up here.
Sure. Where are you? There. Yeah.
Maybe it's the room we're in, but I kept being reminded of King Lear and how the
100%.
The ancient Greeks given the kingdom between three princesses, and then disintegrating when wanting to claim it back. But then it didn't continue as King Lear does. It changed. So was this were you conscious of this? Were you trying to put King Lear with a happy ending?
So the question was about the similarity between this and King Lear, but how it changes in Act 4, and were you conscious of this, and were you trying to change the ending to King Lear?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, finally someone's making these comparisons for my writing. I mean, It's only taken 6 movies, but really, I think I'm finally being discussed in the company that I belong in. Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, in addition to the 2016 Guns N' Roses reunion that essentially finally gave me this movie, I did that summer, within a month of seeing the reunion, see Merchant of Venice and then the 4.5-hour Hamlet movie. And in my research about that kind of 5-act structure, of course, I then looked at the sort of stories I was familiar with just from films or whatever, King Lear being one of them, just in my sense of trying to understand how 5-act structures work. And then on set, Eric Stoltz, and then I forgot about this. And then on set, Eric Stoltz, we were doing in the recording studio, and he looked at Lizzie, Aggie, and Gail and was like, Reagan, Donalyn, the other one. And I was like, oh, right, that was a thing that it's not that I said, oh, now there can be 3 of them. But, it's all out there. But initially in the research, a little bit, and then never, and then on set, I remembered it, and I thought, yeah, that was a thing.
It's in your head, even if it's not
Briefly,
there.
it briefly was, and now it's on this screen.
Right here? So the question was about how you choose your characters that you play.
I just go for the best material, honestly. Whatever that is, whether it's film or television or theater, big or small. In my case, usually small. I don't know. I go for whatever I think is the best script. It's not about it being different from something I've done before. It's not about the size of the role. It's just or the size of the budget. For me, it's really about the best material. Because if you don't have a good script, usually there's nothing you can do with it. I never intended to do another TV show so soon after Mad Men, but Handmaid's Tale was too good to not do. That's why I keep working with Alex, is because his scripts are incredible. That's kind of the only guiding thing. I wish there was something more interesting, but that's it.
And thank you for your comment.
We have time for one more. I am going to go up there, right here. So this was a comment about reading that you set rules for yourselves when you're writing scripts. Was there a rule on this script?
Yeah, also, by the way, there's so many great people up here. I can't believe that I'm getting the lion's share of the questions. It's very embarrassing because you're all so much more interesting and do so many fewer Q&As than I do. But, in this case, there were hundreds of them, and I think they're all pretty evident on the screen. It was written in the script, each act had to move and feel differently. Page 1, act 1, Steadicam, blue, green. Page 30, recording studio, dollies and zooms, yellowish, fluorescent. It was all in there. But the rules on this were just I needed to hit this structure that I was really inspired by. I needed to conceive of logical narrative excuses to have scenes go on for 23 to 30 minutes. Which is to say, what is it about this 30 minutes in Becky's life that makes this a totally monumental moment in her existence? And why is it, and where do we start, and what happens? And in the recording studio, in the span of 30 minutes, it goes from a full band that exists and is making a record to a band that has entirely broken up and 3 new people in Becky's life, in the span of 30 real minutes. So the rules are just I just got carried away because writing is really, tedious, and I do it all the time, and I always need to come up with fun ways to challenge myself. So, yeah, I came up with a lot of rules on this one, and I think they were all just for the good of the material.
Well, we have to turn the theater over, unfortunately, but I want to thank all of you for coming and sharing the film with us, because it's
Thank
so
you.
wonderful.
Thanks, everybody.